Hey, welcome to Queering Effect. Oh, you guys, that was DJ Underground Soul, and I am your host for this evening, Lorena. Listen, those moves, whew, they came with a price. Oh, I am not as young as I want to be. Listen, this is Queering a Path. This is an educational science show, and I'm your host, Lorena. Lorena, if you want to get freaky, which I think we all want to. Some of us may not be wearing pants, and I highly encourage it. Now, before I get started with the show, I got to give a shout out to the two main orgs that are the reason why we're all here, our parents, if you would, and that is AARC and Case of Science. So give them a round of applause. Side note, this is a virtual show, so I can't know if you're applauding, but I'd like to think you all are. Okay, now what in the heck do these people do, Lorena? What are they just letters on the board? No, they are great. And listen, I don't want to get this wrong, so I have it right here. But AARC is the Alamo Area Resource Center, and they're an LGBT specialty clinic and an HIV resource center in San Antonio, Texas. I mean, come on. Their goal is to support health equality and provide health education for the LGBT community and allies. Oh, snap. You know what? Snaps all around to AARC. And now, who is Taste of Science? I mean, how many science festivals are going to be solely dedicated to kids? I ask, you ask, we all ask. Taste of Science is like, no, let's bring science to you at night. Let's go see me and let's make it fun. And guys, they have events happening all the time across the US. But right now they're bringing you the fun of science virtually, which is why we're all here. I mean, oh my God. And guess what else? Yeah, there's more happening, right? We are raising money for this event. We're raising money for Fiesta U. So everyone wants to donate, right? We're all like, what, let's donate our money. You guys can go to tasteofscience.org and you can donate. Make sure you say it's for Fiesta Youth. And if you are the highest donor, you get a happy hour named after you. I mean, people want monuments. I say, give me a happy hour in my name. Oh my God. So go to tasteofscience.org and donate, because tonight you're going to get your edumacation on, right? You're going to learn about health. Boom. You're going to learn about sex ed. Bam. And all of that is with a trans focus. I mean, air horn. What are you not going to learn? I mean, frankly, I'm excited to learn about Skype sex. What's up? We're not going to learn. Okay. Yeah. We're not going to learn about that. Right. No, I don't want to have Skype sex. I don't have Skype sex. Anyway, we got some ground rules, okay? Because this show is going to be fun. Guess what else it's going to be? It's pride themed. I mean, hello, I'm no doctor, but I do have a PhD in being gay. Take that to the bank. Yes, it's a pride themed show, guys. We don't play by the rules. It's July. We're like, let's do a pride themed show in July. That's the month for us. Which brings us to our ground rules. Some of you may be here and you're like, hey, guess what? I'm excited to troll the shiz out of these people. And you know what? For that, I say, go to Twitch. Okay, not here, not now. Don't do it. This isn't the place. Okay, this is a safe space. And we also have cyber bouncers. Okay, and they'll kick you out of here. Too sweet. That is not an expression I've ever said in my gosh darn life. They'll kick you out. So keep it a safe space. You know, we just want to have a good time. We're all drinking. This is absolutely water. Second thing, we got speakers. So I want you all to bring some questions, ask some questions, and make sure it's in the Q&A portion of this chat. All right, otherwise it's going to go on. We'll go lose it. Okay. All right. And thirdly, I know you guys are listening to DJ Underground Soul. I know some of you have taken my dance moves, and I don't blame you. But we got a DJ intermission a little bit later in the middle of the show. So if you're like, I gotta go to the bathroom, I don't know what to do, you can wait. I mean, frankly, you go whenever you want. I mean, I hope you watch the show, the entire show on the toilet. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but I do have hemorrhoids. I do not recommend you sitting on the toilet for longer than, just don't do it. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. But we do have an intermission, which will let you prepare, go to the bathroom, because also, again, we're doing a happy hour later. Yes, we're doing a happy hour. And if you're the highest donor, this happy hour is named after you. So perfect time for the intermission. You get to prepare your ingredients. I mean, I don't want to brag, but I have chili. Okay, baby back ribs. I want my, not the time. I think those are all the ground rules. I think that's what we got. You want to be a sponsor? Let's do it. Let's talk Skype sex. I can't wait to learn about Skype sex. We're really not learning about that? Okay. All right. Okay. I mean, whatever. That's what you want to do. Now, my main question, guys, is who in the heck am I? And honestly, you're not wrong. That's a very important question. My name, again, is Lorena. If you're just joining us, you're here on Queering a Path, and this is going to be an educational comedy show. I'm going to be guiding us through it. I'm going to be metaphorically holding your hand, if you would, okay? And honestly, call me up later. We can make that literal. Just kidding. It's Corona. Nobody touch me. But I'm a comedian. We're hanging out. I am a queer Latina. I know, don't tell anybody. I'm a queer Latina. I do have resting colonial man face. Okay, so it's confusing. Not a lot of people. They're like, "Hi, you're Latina." Okay, I look like Thomas Jefferson's ghost. I mean, I look like the Jewish part of Drake, and that's, I understand. We're all confused, but also, hey, I'm an androgynous baby. You know what I'm saying? My pronouns are she, her, and sir. And I don't, that's just how it is, right? I'm so androgynous, in fact, that when I used to go out into the world, again, it's like a distant fond memory I have. I get confused a lot. I get my pronouns get confused. And one time I spoke at a career day, and I was very excited because 11-year-olds are like, what are comedians doing? I gotta know. I don't want to be a scientist. I want to be a comedian. That's a taste of science joke. And so I go to the school, and I'm like, hey, thanks guys, thank you so much. And this little girl, she raised her hand and she said, hang on a second. You're a girl? I thought you were a boy. Also, I thought you were a skateboarder. So she was upset. Now, as I've mentioned extensively, because I have a chip on my shoulder, I am Latina, and specifically I'm Colombian. Bang, bang, bang. Shout out to the Colombians in the chat. Sound off on your favorite breakfast foods. Mine is bandeja paisa. But I have Colombian parents, and truly, Colombian parents are they're very special. And mine are I love them, but they're really a very specific brand. And I'll give you an example. My mother did not want to explain sex to me. I think a lot of Latinos can relate to this, right? A lot, very religious potentially. We don't really discuss sex. My mother, very closed off about sex. And the way she described an orgasm to me when I was 25 was that it was like when you needed to take a shit all day and then you finally get to. And honestly, she's not wrong. But also, thankfully, she's not a speaker on this show because, whoo, baby. And my dad is a different breed of life. We actually, this is something recently that's come up in the family. We actually have been wondering this whole time. We play this game with my dad, which is we're not sure if he is dealing with cultural assimilation problems or if he's on the spectrum. Now, I say that and that my dad has a very imaginative way of thinking, and there's no shade to that. I think that's incredible. I have lots of family members, lots of friends on the spectrum, right? We're all on some sort of spectrum. But it's hard to know if it's him or if he just was raised in a different country for 30 years, right? Like growing up, he he never wanted me to wear open-toed shoes. And a lot of my other Latina female friends, their fathers, for example, were very concerned about them having sex. They're like, please, don't have sex, please. And my dad, before I would go out, he would just be like, please, don't wear flip-flops. That's what we're learning. We're learning a lot. I just got married. Thank you so much. I am a statistic now because it was during Corona. I have a white wife, my wife. And thank you, whoop whoop. Yes, thank you. Oh my God, guys, thank you. Please, we're getting divorced. But she is white, and she says sorry in advance. And she's not only white, she is Australian white, which is a very specific type of white because, oh man, it's so white, it's almost wrong. Now, it makes things worse. She's a human rights lawyer. So, God, yeah, really, I hate myself too. So we're like this bad version of George and Amal Clooney, right? If you swap the races. And my white wife, she is a little bit older, and she's 7 years older. And she really wants to have kids, right? She's like, we gotta have kids soon. And I was like, okay, well, it's really important for me that you learn Spanish and that you can speak Spanish so that our kids are bilingual. And so when you learn Spanish, we will have kids. And I mean, thankfully she can barely speak English, so we're never gonna have. She's in the next room. Now, I like to think that the biggest difference between me and my white wife, God, I gotta stop. White wife, pending, copyright pending, is that how we both broke our hymen. Now, again, I said this is a very sexy science show, because science at night, right? So, and I want to contribute as much as I've learned about sex, which is just these 5 things I'm saying. But we both broke our hymens in very different ways that I think really speak to our cultures. My wife, she broke her hymen horseback riding. She literally just galloped it off, right? She was just galloping so hard, it got tired, and it took a little nap on a hill, and it just slithered down her Lululemon pants and just went on a slope somewhere. I, however, lost my hymen. I broke it on a piggyback ride, which, as we all know, is piggyback ride is the immigrant equivalent to a horseback ride. Okay, that's our funding. That's what we have, right? And what had happened was that my friend was giving me this piggyback ride, and she dropped me onto her heel, and then my hymen shattered into 1,000 pieces and was deported from my country. That is my body. Ice, please. For the first time ever, is me saying that. Great, we love that. I'll leave you guys with this before. Again, we got a speaker coming up. So I'll leave you guys with this, right? Sometimes it's hard talking to people you don't know, right? There's a lot of marginalization in this body, a lot of colonization. Sometimes I just want to be sure. So I like to test people, and I developed this thing I like to call the woke model. Now, what the woke model does is I say something really egregious. It's like homophobic or sexist, and then I gauge how the other person responds to that. Okay, and if they laugh, they know I'm kidding, we're cool. But if they agree, they're white supremacists. So I'll give you an example. I used to play soccer professionally because that is the lesbian eat, pray, love. I mean, what are we doing? And while I was with a trainer, Giuseppe, complaining about his girlfriend, and he's like, no, we're having problems. And I was like, well, Giuseppe, it's because women, they're just so emotional. And Giuseppe agreed, and I murdered Giuseppe. Okay, all right, everybody. This is recorded, perfect. We have a speaker coming up. Oh, yeah, you don't want to just listen to me all night. You guys actually want to learn stuff. And I frankly can't blame you because, yep, Eric, someone did die in that joke. Okay, I have a speaker for you. Now, this first speaker, Dr. Stephanie Budge. Let me tell you about Stephanie. Stephanie, and get ready to feel bad about yourself, but also get excited that people like this exist. Stephanie Budge is an associate professor of counseling psychology at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. She's also the director, of the Advancing Diversity and Health Equity Ahead program in the School of Medicine. Oh God, I need to go get several masters right now. School of Medicine and Public Health at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Her research focuses on emotional and coping processes for transgender youth and adults. Oh my God, God bless. As well as the effectiveness of medical and psychotherapeutic, I almost couldn't pronounce that word, treatments for transgender clients. Today she'll be talking about her research in transformative therapy, resiliency, and wellness for LGBTQ people. Please, everybody, give huge snaps for Dr. Stephanie L. Budge.
Thank you, Loretta. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to talk to you today about some of the work that we do with the Trans Research Lab. So I am really excited to talk to you about some of the research, but I also thought it would be important to share some of the context for the work that we do. So I am a queer, white, cis woman who does this work. And a lot of the mission of the work that we do is to train trans and non-binary people to become therapists and researchers. And the point of that is to make sure that there's a lot more representation and people who feel empowered to do the work in their communities. So I'm happy to talk a little bit more about the work that we do if people have any questions about that. But one of the main things that when we were kind of talking about what would be interesting for folks to hear about today, I had mentioned that most of the research that I've read and that exists that focuses on trans and non-binary people is pretty negative. And it's not negative about trans people, but it shares information that talks about how hard it can be to be a trans person and some of the mental health impacts of experiencing discrimination and rejection. And we know that those experiences exist. But there's a whole lot of wellness that's not being talked about when we talk about trans and non-binary people's experiences. And so that was one of the things that I mentioned that would be really interesting to talk about today. I can talk about a whole bunch of different research that focuses on mental health. So I'm happy to answer questions, regardless of if it kind of skews towards some of the challenges that people might experience or some of the wellness experiences. I'm happy to share that. So one of the things that I thought I would focus on today is coping, and a research project that we did where we talked with people about their positive coping experiences or the kinds of things that they use to cope that have created wellness in their lives. I think I'll talk a little bit about some of the findings that we saw in some of that research, and then I can also provide a little bit more information about that if people are interested. So we did a research study a few years back that the title of the project was the Trans Positive Experiences Study. And we interviewed 43 trans and non-binary people throughout 4 different states in the United States, Illinois, Kentucky, Ohio, and Indiana. And we focused on some states that are often pretty ignored and trans people who are pretty ignored in some of their experiences. And so we had a team of interviewers, the majority of whom were trans themselves. And we asked a lot of questions to trans and non-binary folks about their positive experiences being trans people. What I'm going to focus on today is the coping that people talked about, but I'm also happy if folks have questions to chat about some of the other findings that came out of that study. So this is something that we call a qualitative study, that instead of asking surveys to people where we get numbers and calculate statistics based on people's experiences, we interviewed people and we took all 43 of the interviews that people shared with us, and we created themes based on all the information that people gave. And so I'm going to talk about 9 different themes of positive coping that trans and non-binary people used to really improve and increase their wellness experiences. So the first theme, I'm not really going to go into a lot of detail on because it's pretty self-explanatory, but the theme is called accepting support from others. And that's exactly what it sounds like. So people said like one of the major positive coping experiences that they had was that they were really talking to family and friends and other trans people about their experiences, and that also talking to psychologists and mental health professionals, ones who are trained and trans affirming, was really positive. Another theme that people talked about was active engagement through the transition process. And that's kind of the sciencey words that we used around that. But basically what that meant is that when people, folks who were non-binary or trans who were kind of going through a social transition or a medical transition, that they talked about different ways that they were like actively working through that process. And I thought what might be a little bit more interesting, instead of hearing just me kind of share results, is to actually read people's interviews and parts of what they shared for this. So Erin, who was a 28-year-old Native American, gender nonconforming, masculine, trans queer person, said, before I had a good experience being out as trans, I was just really scared of it. So I didn't out myself. I didn't talk about it. And if I did, it was one or two people. Like here in the city, we didn't talk about the specific cities people were in. I can talk about it. I do trainings on it. I've been to 3 or 4 colleges in the state to do trainings on Trans 101. And I think the more I learn over time, the less scared I got. And then to have my identity supported in the way it's been here, that's super powerful to me. So that was Erin's experience of really like actively engaging and kind of, really doing trainings as a way to feel like they were empowered. Another theme that people talked about was specific actions that they took to increase protection. So some of the people in the study did talk about feeling a little less safe or feeling a little bit worried about, or sometimes a lot worried about some experiences that they might have in terms of rejection or discrimination, but they talked about some of the positive ways that they coped with those experiences. So Santana, who's a 26-year-old Native American trans woman who's polysexual, said, thankfully, when I came out again, there was a support person in a big city who would do Skype sessions with me. And I still drove up there a couple times because I felt better about myself. And it was one of the only opportunities that I really got to be myself when I wasn't out full time yet. And I was just starting to come out, and I would dress up around the house and I wouldn't leave the house because I was afraid someone from work would see me. But I remember that this is the first time that I ever got gendered properly, and it just felt phenomenal. Okay, so the next theme was actively seeking social interactions. This theme was defined by participants that they took these really specific actions to connect and engage with others. This is where people were talking about really going to support groups and sharing in support groups. And right now, there are a lot more online support groups that people can experience because there are more Zoom meetings that are happening. So that's one of the things that people talked about. I'm not going to read all of the quotes because I don't want people to get bored with just hearing me talk. So maybe what I'll share is that I'll explain a couple of the other positive coping processes that people said. And then if people want to hear more quotes, I'm happy to share that. So another theme that people said was really positive in terms of improving their wellness was helping other trans people. And this is something that we hear over and over again in the research, which is that being able to be a part of your community and actually helping other people in your community helps you to feel empowered, and also kind of helps you to feel like you're doing something to be able to make a difference in your community. Another theme was engaging in exploration. And so this was specifically for folks when they were talking about their identity process and kind of as they were coming out or before they were coming out, some of the pieces that they shared. And maybe I'll just share this one quote because I think it's really good. But Hyunjin, who is a 27-year-old Korean trans man, said, when I was doing a lot of my exploration about being trans, I did some online research. I read books by Jameson Green and Max Wolf and Thomas Bebe and other people who said, okay, this was my experience and these are the obstacles I came up with. This is how I about the whole thing. And after doing a lot of that, I was like, okay, maybe this is who I am, and maybe this is how I feel. And so, you know, people really spending a lot of time, you know, reading other people's narratives and other people's experiences, especially ones that weren't only skewing negative, was a really helpful thing that people talked about. People also talked about ways that they really explored self-acceptance. And so there are a couple of people who talked about really, you know, feeling scared to take different leaps, but doing it anyway. And so kind of these actions that people took where they were so proud of themselves for the process of like not knowing what was going to happen and things feeling ambiguous, but really moving forward and feeling so good about that. Another thing that people talked about is this concept of self-efficacy, which is really this piece of people feeling confident and learning how to feel confident in themselves. And this is where people really talked about their experiences of pride and how they kind of deconstructed pride and experienced it. And I think the last thing that I'll share on this is just this final piece of people talking about being activists. This is something that often, if you aren't a part of a marginalized community, the same type of coping process doesn't happen for you, but that this was where people said that actually using their personal agency to really create change and be an activist in the moment, help them feel good in that moment, but also help them feel like that positive change that was going to happen for other people really made a big difference. So I'm happy to really delve into any of those things or talk about some other pieces related to coping and wellness if people have any questions about that. But one thing that I did want to talk about that I thought would be important is that in a lot of psychological research, I'm a psychologist, and so a lot of the research that we do, it often focuses on the individual, and coping focuses on the individual. So things and skills that you learn individually as a person to help yourself feel better. But that doesn't really address the fact that people are coping with oppression and that these are usually, you know, if they're experiencing transphobia or other kinds of prejudice or bias, the fact that you have your own personal responsibility to try to take care of that or to cope is really messed up. And so I think I just want to share that I think that there are lots of ways to talk about wellness and lots of ways that as a team and our group that we're talking about kind of addressing oppression. And at the same time, in the meantime, while we're kind of trying to figure out society, we're also trying to help people figure out different individual skills that can help them kind of cope in the moment. So I'll share those pieces. And I guess the final thing that I'll share that I can talk more about if people have more questions is that not only have we been kind of focusing on these positive coping pieces that people can experience and use, but we've also been studying, does psychotherapy help trans and non-binary people? How does it help trans and non-binary people? And how can we train therapists to do better and to be better? Because we know that a lot of the time, trans and non-binary people say that they have really negative experiences with therapists and have experienced a lot of harm. And so a lot of work that we do in our lab is doing that training and studying how we can make psychotherapy the most effective process possible. I have a lot of data on that, but I also would like to hear a little bit more from folks on exactly what they want to hear for questions. The last thing that I'll share too that we were kind of talking about as a group is that even though I'm a researcher, I'm also you know, an advocate in the community, and I really help people kind of figure out and navigate healthcare systems and how to find the most competent practitioners. So I'm happy to talk about that if that's something that people want to talk about less on the data end. So I'll stop there. And it sounds like we might even have a question.
Woo! Dr. Stephanie Budge, everybody. Snap, snap, snap. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Guys, listen, Dr. Bud, Stephanie, ask her questions. You have a Q&A box. If you hover over at the bottom of the screen, we literally are dying. We have some lined up already, which is really great. Stephanie, thank you again. It's really cool to see people doing important stuff. Back to me. Now, guys, we're gonna just teasing. We're gonna go take a little bit of an intermission with DJ Underground Soul, but I do want to remind everybody with the Q&A, it's coming up. So if you got any burning, yearning questions, feel free to put it in one of those in the box. But also, we're raising money for Fiesta Youth. That's right. That's why we're here. And if you are the #1 highest donor, you get the happy hour named after you. I mean, what? What is this madness? So make sure you go to tasteofscience.org and hit that donate button, because it's gonna be so great. So we're gonna take a quick break. Remember what? If you guys go to the bathroom, and most importantly, start getting your ingredients ready, because we got a happy hour coming up. All right. So guys, stick around. Go use the bathroom. Go donate. Enjoy DJ Underground Soul.
Each morning when I see your face, I truly believe this is the place I'm supposed to be, 'cause you love me. Give me reason to come straight home from the love, and I can never roam, 'cause you love me. You really love me. I'm loving the way you love me, baby, yeah. The way you kiss me and hug me each morning. I'm loving, you know I'm loving. Try this love thing a time or two. Never felt what I feel for you. And you love me. I love you and you love me. Make me dinner and you make me smile. Stroke my ego, take care of my child and me. You do this 'cause you love me. You love me, baby. Oh, love me, baby. I love the way I love the way you love me. Hey, I'm loving. You came to me when I needed love. You were a gift from God, and you've shown me what love is. Shown me what love is. You've been better to me than I've been to myself. I don't want love from no one else but you. See, all I want is you. You complete me. I'm the man I'm supposed to be because of you. I'm me because of you, because of you. I'm loving. Every little thing you do each day. me all this way. I can't help but love everything about you. Everything about you. I'm loving. I'm loving everything. Everything you do for me, you do for me. I'm loving. I'm loving everything you do for me. Everything you do for me,
I found love, a higher love. Life's been good. Found love, found love, a higher love. Life's been good. Found true love. I found love, a higher love. Life's been good. Found true love. I found love, a higher love. Life's been good. Found true. What can you tell the heart that's lost his way? No place for the soul. Can't find the light of day. There's one thing I know. Love is a friend. Follow love and go, and happiness will begin. Found a love. I found love. Since I found love. Since I found love. Life's been good. I found love. Found true love. I found love. I found love. I found love. A higher love. Life's been good. I found love. Found true. For a very long time, I was in a strange place where my heart should have been. I had an empty space, but something took a hold on me, and I'll never be the same. Take pleasure in knowing my life has changed. Telling you, I found love. I found love. I found love. A higher love. True love. Life's been good. I found love. I found love. Oh, I found love. A higher love. A higher love. I found love. I found love. I found love. Hold on. Took a hold on me. I found love. Took a hold on me. I found love. Since I found love. A higher love. A higher love. A higher love. I found love. I found love. A higher love.
Well, I got love in my heart.
everybody. That was DJ Underground Soul. Yes, yes, yes. My question, listen, if I could ask DJ Underground Soul, one question is, what in the heck is that thing you're putting up to their ear? Making calls. DJ Underground Soul is DJing, but at the same time, making calls in the 1920s. Oh boy, that joke is topical. Guys, we're back. I'm still your host, Lorena. I'm like the Britney Spears of this event. You just don't know how many comebacks I'm gonna have. #circus. Okay, listen. If you're just tuning in, this is Queering a Path, brought to you by AARC and Taste of Science. And tonight's all about education, okay? We're learning about health, sex ed. We're doing all the things. And frankly, I thought it was appropriate to make a film. And you know what? Actually, we're getting a question in. Can we still donate now? Yeah, you can. You still have a chance. You have about 4 minutes to be the highest donor, and then you get a happy hour named after you. I mean, you have 4 minutes. You got 4 minutes. You know where you can donate? You go to tasteofscience.org and you hit that donate button. Make sure you say that it's for Fiesta use. You can still donate. And frankly, even after, you can keep donating. Honestly, Venmo me. Guys, I made a film, okay? That's what I was saying before. Not a sexy one, all right? It's very sexy, but it's not that kind of film. Hey, everyone, calm down. Because we want to give some insight, all right? I wanted people to get an education on. So I know the scientists have things to say, but the comedians, they can also explain things. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you all to a little short film called The Secret Gardener. Enjoy.
I know. Thank you guys so much for coming to my garden party.
SJ, of course. And let me just say, your garden is beautiful.
It really is stunning.
Mm-hmm.
Stunning.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's all thanks to my gardener. Speak of the devil. That's Tova.
What?
I said that's Tova. Isn't she beautiful?
I mean, if you're into that, hard heterosexual.
Okay, guys, I know we're straight. Wait, are you into Tova?
No! Oh my God! No. Listen, I know sexuality is like a spectrum, right? But for me, it's like a flat wall, you know?
Yes.
If I was anything more nuanced than just straight, my head would explode. Oh my God.
Okay, ladies, it's 2019. We can identify as straight, but also be attracted to a woman.
Well, we're not into her. And I know that because I haven't been imagining what it would be like to kiss her or to hold her or what Tova would look like on a boat.
Honestly, it's probably for the best. Tova's been through a lot recently.
Coming out of the closet must have been really hard.
Yeah. Oh, no, not that. She just got divorced from her ex-wife.
Oh my God! Ex-wife? She's single? Well, too bad I can't date her because I love penis. Yeah, whether it's attached or just floating in my imagination.
What even is sex without a penis? I mean, is it like several hours long? I mean, is it like full of love and attention?
Okay, no one has to date her.
I can't do it either because my clit has turned into a penis and it is as hard as peanut brittle.
Oh, thank God, your boyfriends are here. Oh, thank God.
Is it
She's coming over.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Hey ladies, you all right?
Oh my God.
think I sipped on my own cum.
Oh, wow. Now that's what I call a sex education. Can I just say, I have never had the privilege of watching that so closely and then immediately going right on up and talking. God, who was that handsome gardener? The world will never know. Now, guys, the time has come where we get to announce the name of the person that provided the highest donation to Fiesta Youth. First of all, shout out to everybody who is currently donating. Really awesome. It's a really beautiful event. But there can only be one happy hour sponsor, and that is AJ Delgado. I have never said that whiter. AJ Delgado, thank you so much. AJ, thank you. This happy hour is sponsored by you. Now, listen, I know you're all seeing my sweats, but we're making a drink together, and this drink is called a puta piña. Now, ting, 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 bong, butter, bong, butter, bong, 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 bong. Wow, that's a lime, and that's a knife. So, how do we make a puta piña? Thank you so much. If you guys have been following along, you got some ingredients, and I'll let you know what they are right now. You need some chile. Oh boy, right there. For the rim, that's not the first time I've said that. You need some sliced jalapeno, which I will be slicing. You can get some ice if you want to get fancy, some pineapple juice and topo chico, and then of course, a little bit of mezcal. Now, I didn't show you guys my own ingredients because my grocery store apparently didn't want me to make a puta piña. It wanted me to make whatever the German equivalent is, and I'll explain because let's make this together. So first, we're gonna salt the rim. Now, when I say I am not a certified bartender, I mean I have never done this before. Okay, bing, bing, bong. All right, I already put the ice in there. Wow, that's freezing. Here we go. Chile salted rim. Feel free to either make this along at home or judge me fantastically and send it to all your friends. I will accept it. Any and all. Okay, that is looking like it's gonna burn my mouth up. Okay, I hope yours is sexier. And frankly, I'm not upset because guess who's bad with spicy food? It's Colombians. All right, boom. Go chuck that ice in there. Please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section if I am, doing this like a college freshman, because I am. Okay, now we're gonna slice some jalapeno. I am not excited to eat this. I agreed to this drink for realizing how spicy this was, and boom, ow, my finger. I'm just kidding. All right, that looks pretty good to me. That looks pretty, gosh darn good to me. This is like the Master Chef, the part that nobody wants to see, but here we are. Okay, some jalapeno. This could be great. Now, my pineapple juice, unfortunately, as I mentioned, they don't want to. This is a German store, so I don't have pineapple juice. I have Italian blood orange soda, and if I've ever had anything that's basically like it, it is this. I'm gonna throw some that. Oh, this is looking delicious. Now, you may be noticing that I didn't put that much in there, and that's because I really want to get my bang for my buck with my mezcal. Also, this is not Topo Chico. Okay, hang on. I'll tell you what the name is. They didn't have Topo Chico at my supermarket, so I got Gersh. That's what they had. They had Gersh for me. Some of that in there. If you're just tuning in, we are having quite the blast here at Queering a Path. We are making a puta piña sponsored by the most incredible happy hour, vis-a-vis AJ Delgado. I'm sorry, I just keep wanting to say AJ Delgado. Okay, now we got our pineapple juice. We got our club soda. We got some jalapeno. We got all the good stuff. Now, feel free to add this all the way to the top. No need to have mezcal, but if you're me, you're gonna think we're gonna have some mezcal. Okay. This is coming to you straight from Mexico. This is the only authentic thing I have. This is Vida Mezcal. Oh, okay. Wow. Oh, that is too much. That was too much. That was too much. But frankly, I am a scientist, and that you got to experiment somehow. Okay, let's bing, 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 bong. Move this to the side. Do, 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 do. Here we are. Here we go. Oh, cheers, everybody. Oh, Oh, the lime. The lime. You're right. Got to cut this lime. Okay, let me just cut that final touch. Okay, all right, all right. This is going to burn my esophagus. La, 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 la. Cheers. Salud, salud, salud. How spicy do we think this is going to be? Because I think if I had testicles, they would go straight up to my throat and become my tonsils. Here we go. Cheers. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, yeah. You know what the taste of science is? It is in my mouth. Wow, I have nothing to quench. The burn except more burn. I think I found, 7 levels of hell. Here we go. That is, delicious for someone. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put some more mezcal on it. Guys, if you're just tuning in, you watch me make a puta piña, and it actually is pretty good. I thought it was going to be a little bit spicier. It's really, really good. I hope everyone is having a good, calming evening. You're watching Clearing a Path, which is an educational science sex ed health show. You just listened to Stephanie Budge, and I'm your host, Lorena. And I am pretty sure I have lost most of my taste buds. Before we get to this Q&A, and as a reminder, there is a Q&A box at the bottom of the Zoom. You can hover over it and feel free to ask some questions. We have some amazing questions for Dr. Budge. She prefers the name Stephanie. If I know you're a doctor, I'm going to call you Dr. Budge. But I do want to leave you guys with, some stories in my youth. Now that, listen, loose lips sink ships, is that the expression? I am an immigrant. And as a sidebar, actually, before I even get to those stories, AJ was the highest donor, but that doesn't mean that you have to stop donating. You can keep on donating at tasteofscience.org. Again, there's a donate button there. This is for Fiesta Youth. You're looking at Taste of Science, you're looking at AARC. These are two great organizations that are helping fundraise money for LGBT youth, or as I like to say, the youth. Now, speaking of youth, I was a scoundrel. I used to, hey, get out of here. I used to Skype sex. Really not learning about that, huh? All right, can I just say I did get broken up once over Skype sex, and I was like, you're breaking up with me? And they're like, no, the internet's bad. That is a true story. No, but I do want to tell you about the time that I was confused for a man once by Stephen Colbert. Now, as I mentioned, my pronouns are she, her, and sir, and I never feel more vindicated than when I get called sir. But on this particular occasion, I was looking at the Late Show, and it was Pride. It was Pride, and it was Sunday, and that Monday I had to go to work, and I was hungover, And you know that type of hangover when the sweat that comes out, it's like you can't even wipe the sweat away because you're like, what did I have? What did I have? Whole bottle of Jameson. So going to work, I'm asked to go on the stage. It's a huge moment. I'm at the Late Show. Stephen Colbert's there. Oh my God. And I get on the stage, and Stephen goes, because I went on the stage at the wrong time. He goes, can someone please get this guy off the stage? And I turned to look at Stephen, and he turned to look at me. He's like, can someone please get this person off the stage? Anyway, yeah, we're fine. We're fine. We're dating now. It's actually I got married too. Speaking of my marriage, though, I went on a honeymoon. Don't try to do a honeymoon during Corona. Frankly, we're losing. I think I'm losing Corona. We're not doing great. We thought we'd go to the Rockaways. That's for all my San Antonians in the beach of New York. I'm in Brooklyn, which is its own garbage dump, but the Rockaways is like the beach but on a garbage dump. And so we go, right, it's like really exciting. We're being really, safe about it. We're prioritizing our mental health. Let's go away for a weekend because we're stuck in this apartment. And we go, and we open the door, and we see a used condom on the stairs. This literally happened 2 weeks ago. There was a used condom on the stairwell, and then used blunts on the stairwell. And then we got to our apartment, and it smelled like used condoms and used blunts. So what I'm going to say is that, listen, if you dream it, you can make things happen too. Oh my goodness. Oh, what a good time. Anyway, guys, listen, enough about me. We don't talk about me. God, I regret that tone immediately. We're going to get into some Q&A, some questions and answers. Again, as a reminder, we have the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. Look, there's Stephanie's beautiful face. God, my question is, where is this cardigan from? Because it looks very, very cool. Is it a cardigan? Too many questions. But if you have questions, we have a lot of great ones to ask Dr. Budge, which is really exciting because I think, obviously, this is a funny show and it's a very educational show. But I think what we all want more than anything during this time is just to have answers come together, learn a little bit, learn something while having fun. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the box. Also, donate, can't say it enough. And let's get into it with Dr. S. Budge.
Thank you so much. Actually, I got this cardigan from Target in 2012, so I feel like I'm really winning.
Yeah.
Here.
That's you. Truly, that really is the gift that keeps on giving, an item. My problem is I have clothing items for decades and no one compliments me on them. People are like, oh, okay, do you want to? I'm like, no, it's cool. And they're like, no, thank you. Okay, so Stephanie, I mean, just, first things first, how did you even get into this field of research?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So I first started researching bisexuality, and we have this term. Yes, term in psychology of me search. So I came out as bi when I was 23. I use queer now because I feel like that's a little bit more encompassing of my identity. But I think I was studying that, and then it was a little too depressing for me to study.
Your identity or the research?
All of it. Yeah, but actually, I got connected to some folks in the trans community here in Madison, and some people had mentioned basically that they wanted, some trans folks had said, we need some cis allies in the psychologist community because most of the psychologists that they knew were pretty harmful. And so that was actually how I got started, was doing some community work. And, that's how I got here. But my main job, I get, I love talking about the research, and I think, like I said, my main goal is making sure that I'm not the one who's mainly talking about it either, because I'm the cis person in the room. So I'm happy to talk about it today, but I'm also really wanting to connect folks to other resources that can be helpful too.
Yeah, and acknowledging privilege, I think, is a tool that I wish more people use. So thank you for doing that. We have a question from Samantha. Samantha asks, I'd love to hear more about navigating the healthcare system in general. Ooh, okay, small question. I struggled a lot to find an OBGYN for birth control that wouldn't slut shame me, a bisexual white cis woman. It was extremely difficult for me to find that care that was covered by insurance from a doctor who took my concerns into account without being incredibly rude or dismissive. I want to know how I can help find mental health services for folks who are on the gender sexuality spectrum. Wow. Thank you, Samantha.
Yeah, that's a great question. It is a huge challenge to try to find a competent medical provider and therapist. One recommendation I have for mental health providers is that there's a tool on psychologytoday.com that you can actually, on the left side of the screen, you can click what your insurance is and click that you want a therapist who specializes in LGBT issues. So you just click your insurance in the zip code that you're in and the LGBT issues, and then you see who shows up. Now, depending on where you live, there may or may not be a lot of people who are in your area, but right now telehealth is a gift.
Shout out to telehealth. Yeah.
Silver lining. But but maybe just to say that therapists typically can only practice in their own state where they're licensed. So if you find someone you really like out of your state, sometimes that can be a challenge, but luckily you can probably look at least a bit wider if you're having a hard time finding somebody in your own community. So that's one suggestion I have. Another suggestion that I have is that I'm really good at navigating the mental health care system, and I am happy, if you want to email me and tell me where you live, I'm happy to help you figure out who to talk to, because it's really hard to find people. And I'm connected to lots of listservs. And so some of it's just emailing people and knowing people in the community, but those are a couple of resources that I would suggest. I can also give some more details, but I know we have some other questions. So maybe
we do. I mean, we do also have time. So Stephanie, if you listen, we're here. I'm ready to listen. I'm excited. I'm already like, tell me more. Email, do all the emails. But great. Yeah, we could definitely answer some more questions. We have a question that is, do you find differences between cultures? For example, immigrants versus those that were born and raised in the US?
So can you, sorry, I think my connection went out for just a second. Can you ask the
that's
question
okay.
again?
English is my first language, so it's hard to understand me. I said, do you find differences between cultures? This is an unknown person, anonymous. Do you find differences between cultures? For example, immigrants for those that were born and raised in the US. I suppose that the question is in regards to therapists or maybe therapy practices in different cultures.
Yeah, I guess I can kind of answer this broadly and not, I mean, I think if the question is specific to trans and non-binary immigrants, specifically, if there are some cultural pieces, absolutely. I'm working with a student of mine right now who is interviewing Latinx folks who were detained, who are seeking asylum in the United States, who are trans, and their experiences with that process and gaining asylum in the US. And, you know, as you can imagine, kind of going through that process, you know, even when you gain asylum, like some of the traumatic experiences or feeling othered or going through some of the experiences in your home country, you would have different experiences than where you're living, where you have gained asylum. And I think also there's a lot of stuff that we internalize too, based on our own cultures. And it really just depends on where you're an immigrant from. So, you know, I mean, it's a big question. But I'll say that absolutely culture plays a huge role in all of our lives, and specifically in therapy. And a lot of therapists are really bad, again, at navigating different cultural differences. So I think that it's a challenge to find somebody who can understand you and who can empathize with your experiences if they haven't shared those experiences.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting that. I selfishly have a question a little bit based off of what you were saying before. And when you were speaking, there's this element of therapists doing better and trying to do better. And you said you had done some research and found some data. So my question is, you know, what are tangible ways for therapists to do better in a macro sense, but also like specifically depending on who their client is or who they're speaking to, you know, maybe it's like showing them maybe a different therapist, maybe that's a better option, or kind of like, I think you're creating yourself as a middleman. We're like, hey, if someone needs a therapist, I can help, but also in the room, how can we avoid microaggressions, macroaggressions within the therapy?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think part of what we're trying to do now is train people to acknowledge and understand their own bias, and to understand how, you know, white supremacy and how culture impacts the way that the way that therapists are trained, and the way that they have been raised, and also how they respond to their clients. And so, you know, I think the new therapists are getting trained in all of this and getting trained to understand how all of this kind of plays together. I think people who were trained a while ago, and they have to feel motivated to learn. They have to feel motivated to understand where their bias is coming from, and how to work with, you know, a bunch of different kinds of populations who they may not, you know, have the same experience as. So I feel like it's hard because it's not, you know, I think that sometimes I feel like it's ageist to say, if you're an older therapist, you're not going to know how to do this. That's not true. But I do think that a lot of it depends on the kind of training that you have. I mean, that's not super specific to your question, but I do think that a lot of it is,
I've noted that. So
yeah, but it's a framework. I think that it's kind of, we're thinking about, a bias as a framework for how to really think about where you're coming from with the answers that you're having, or why you microaggress somebody, or what a microaggression might look like. I mean, I'm working with a student right now who is trans, who had clients who've been microaggressing them, right? So like this happens the other way around too, where we talk about, like seeking out therapy, but also if you're a trans person who's a therapist, in this instance of, a person of color who's a trans therapist, like there are all sorts of things that your clients can say to you, and then how do you navigate that too? So
can I have a follow-up to that in terms of like, because then I guess that's really opening up the dialogue for it goes both ways, right? And like motivating people who go out to have to therapy, and how do you best engage with the therapist? Like, how do you flip that on its head for someone that is the client?
That's so, when you say, how do you flip it on your head when you're the client, what do you mean?
So for example, specifically my therapist is actually a Black trans woman. And, when I'm in a room, right, obviously we all have been through what's going on right now in terms of the crisis in the world, in America. And I personally was like, hey, I actually don't feel comfortable really talking about me in this session. I know we're here for me, but like, how are you? Right. And so I'm sort of wondering, as a person that goes to therapy, I see my therapist as a person, as a human. And, that's a privilege in its own way, because I can I'm going for very specific reasons, my mother. But like do you have any tips? We all do. Freud. But I guess when I say flip it on its head, right, it's very much that motivation from the therapist to engage different populations. But I guess just any tips for people that are seeking therapy, like maybe just opening their eyes.
I guess I would say when you're the client, the therapy's for you. So you're paying.
Okay, sure. Yeah, great. Yeah.
You're paying for the therapy. It's for you. And even, when we actually talk to therapists who are experiencing bias from their clients, a lot of it is, how can you talk to your clients about their bias in a way that will actually help them live in the world better? So everything, when you're a therapist, you're getting paid. Theoretically, sometimes you do pro bono work, but your job is to help this person improve their life. So I would just say, it's mainly, you don't need to worry about it when you're the client, other than, obviously you can care about your therapist, but yeah.
Great. I have no more questions. This entire event was for me. I have to call my therapist. Actually, also, Stephanie, we have some good news. Jay Nyla apparently is in the Zoom now. If Jay Nyla, we'll bring on Jay Nyla. I'm trying to find them. And I believe they are either going to come on and join this Q&A, or they're just going to present.
Hi.
Hey. All right. Jay, I'm going to let you do your thing. I'm going to get out of here, okay?
For sure.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Sorry for any confusion. I got times confused and things like that. But yeah, my name is Jay Nyla. I'm an early career researcher in the fields of transgender health, communications, and more recently, psychedelic and entheogenic substances. I'm a trans-identifying person myself, non-binary, pangender, also queer. And I'm also one of the youngest published folks in trans health. I'm a published poet, I'm a musician, and a cultural worker who works with other cultural workers to help their dreams come true. Yeah, so that's me. I've also done some amateur acting, it's like fun facts. I was in Euphoria on HBO as a background actor, club kid. Vita on Stars, and I'm also a plant parent of over 350 creatures. Right now I'm creating a space to foster an education that feels right for me in what I'm calling a DIY PhD. So yeah, I'll share more about that towards the end. But as far as my research goes, as far as what I want to do tonight, I want to sort of help empower folks to understand the system of cissexism. Wanted to share about two people who made necessary shifts in thinking that allows us researchers and community members to identify the systems that continue to perpetuate violence around us. And I'll give an overview of my research thus far and how my goal not to be involved in the doom and gloom of the research led me to taking projects on that were about pride and about empowerment. So personally, I know a part of my pride and empowerment and being generally unfuckwittable has to do with being able to identify a system, a systemic issue, and being able to team up in my community, hold said issue or hold said person accountable and actually just understand it in that way, in a macro level sort of way. So today I'm hoping I can empower folks to do the same. First, I'll talk about the project that really started this journey. In 2016, I performed a review of all the recent transgender mental health literature in the field of psychology that suggested solutions to negative mental health outcomes, such as insomnia, stress, anxiety, and that is situated in what's called minority stress research. The process looked like searching for as many articles as possible, as many as I can find, then narrowing down the search to about 32 related articles, and then narrowing those down to some articles with keywords, those keywords being things like social support, minority stress, depression, anxiety, transgender, and this process revealed some articles in a combined understanding that showed that positive mental health outcomes were mostly due to having inner pride, and community support. So that goes without saying, but I wanted to see what that looked like in the field of psychology. And from that point, 4 years ago, I've done nothing but look for how community support and pride is happening in trans and queer communities, how we're able to foster that. And one of the results that came from that review that I did was to look for things that could help me and some folks develop like a big sibling program for trans and non-binary folks. So in development with that and trying to figure out what we'll need digitally to create that infrastructure right now. So with that research, I modeled a format that was seen in one of America's most renowned medical journals, The Lancet, in a huge issue that addressed trans people. It was called Health at the Margins of Our Society. And something about that issue empowered me to start looking for answers to our mental health issues that are caused by unnecessary stress, motivated by societal stigma. There's so much stigma still associated with being trans and queer. We all know that. So I really wanted to understand this issue of receiving all of that and experiencing all of this depression, anxiety related to the stress, in not a predictive way or in consequence to experiencing stigma, but what was happening while we were experiencing it and how we could prevent those things. So I entered the World Professional Association for Transgender Health in 2016 as one of its youngest transgender members. Yeah, so at the time, I needed a stronger framework to understand the violence that we're subject to, and found this in my studies as professors used concepts like heterosexism and cissexism, which at the time I barely understood. But 2 years later, as a senior in college at this point, and 2 years into my career in the field in 2018, I collaborated on a study with 2 colleagues and mentors, one being Dr. Zachary Du Bois, one of the board editors of the book Trans Bodies, Trans Selves, and Dr. Jay Puckett. So we all went for an awesome opportunity to celebrate Dr. Gregory Herrick, whose work was celebrated in the Journal of Homosexuality. So Dr. Gregory Herrick had a similar goal of destroying systemic violence by making a very necessary shift in thinking about why violence is happening and what is fostering it. So in order to hold these systems accountable, rather than continuing to collect cases of seemingly random homophobic coincidences and instances of violence, he had to create a whole word and a concept that encompass the broader socio-political spectrum upon which the violence is based. So he figured that pointing out each little instance of violence and just being like, that's homophobic, that's homophobic, that's homophobic, just wasn't gonna work. So he developed and identified the system of heterosexism. So heterosexism is the belief that heterosexuality as a modality of relationship is more normal or right than any other way of relating. Being gay, lesbian, bisexual, queer in relationships. So that's his work, and we got to celebrate that. Also celebrating the concept of cissexism. Julia Serrano, who was one of the only primary sources to cite that language, gave us this opportunity to cite cissexism in the field of psychology. She defines cissexism as the belief that transsexual identified genders are inferior to or less authentic than those of cissexuals, people who are not trans, basically. Yeah. So this framework was a huge shift in understanding for trans theory and queer theory and the whole field in general, and is now finally being implemented in transgender health, thanks to her, thanks to Dr. Gregory Herrick, thanks to colleagues. And I just want to continue to celebrate that, being able to name what is in the system rather than something that's on the individual level in our human ecology. So when we just think about the individual level, we forget that these things are sort of written into our environment, written into law. Yeah, so those 2 concepts and those 2 folks, Dr. Gregory Herrick and Julia Serrano, I'm forever grateful for. So, inspired by Dr. Gregory Herrick's work, we took to this project that named and explored the question, why are trans people being targeted to the extent that we're being targeted? Nobody had asked that. The research was mostly about what was happening to us after we experienced the violence. And it wasn't preventative, and it wasn't thinking about what we are trying to do as a community to heal from this stuff. So we took it upon ourselves to look at this in that way. So approaching this work, knowing that a majority of the research at the time, the social sciences focused on consequences rather than prevention, we were led to work on mostly transphobia again. So as well as applying an intersectional approach and taking a feminist standpoint, we wanted to apply this bigger aspect of cissexism. In this case, I very personally figured that being Black, queer, and trans was not the reason why I should experience violence. So having the frameworks to understand where all that was coming from helped me heal and helped me be more unapologetic in the field too. So there's that level as well. Experiencing a lot of exclusion even in the World Trans Health Association, where the gatekeepers are very cis, white, heterosexual male people. I got to be able to have that framework and call out the system that is actually affecting what's happening in the medical institutions and psychological institutions as well. There's a lot of cissexism happening there. So that being said, in the same sense that Gregory Herrick saw that the concept of homophobia merely scratched the surface of the issue, we decided to contribute to this movement toward moving away from the naming of transphobia and shift towards that paradigm of cissexism. Yeah. So I ask and want to ask a couple of questions of my community always. What can we identify as cissexism so as to empower us to change and destroy the system? What are some examples of cissexism in our everyday lives that you are empowered to fight or to change? For example, I think gender reveal parties are really cissexist and kind of wild to me in concept. But there's plenty of examples and plenty of things. So that's my question for you. And yeah, that concludes what I have to say. So.
Yeah, thank you, Jay Nyla. What's going on, man? I like this apartment situation.
Thank you. Yeah.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Long Beach, California.
Ooh, you love to hear it. Yeah, this is everyone's got different sunlight coming in, which is how you know different locations. Listen, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for presenting that. If it's cool with you, we have some, 2 questions that we'd like to see if we can talk about. Okay, so first question is, by the way, I'm Lorena. I don't know, we haven't met. Zoom, we love Zoom. Is there any research, I'm the comedian, not the scientist. Is there any research using psychedelics, microdosing to aid in gender identity work?
Yes, there is. So last year I went to a conference called Queering Psychedelics, and there are people that are looking into using MDMA and psilocybin as ways to, and ketamine, as ways to understand gender identity in a more intimate and connected way. And I'm really excited about that research, and it's definitely something that I want to go into as that develops. And yeah, it's really, really, really cool stuff. Really cool stuff.
Yeah. And then second question, this, I feel like it's a little bit like Jeopardy. I'm like, here's the second question. How does this kind of work become culture versus just dogma in an echo chamber? Is this even a goal for these types of studies? Wow, big words. I'll read it to you again. How does this kind of work become culture versus just dogma in an echo chamber? Is this even a goal for these types of studies?
Wow, that's really complicated for me. Because I know and understand the field of gender theory and gender studies to be very cultural, and at the same time being very, like, people have their Butlerian camp. So Judith Butler is the person that we reference as saying gender is performative and not exactly as, like, you know, a theater performance, but sort of these congealed realities that happen over time in history.
Right.
So that, I think, has become sort of a dogma, and people definitely use that as like a presiding and theory for gender, even though lots of them can exist. At the same time, I feel like a lot of us are inventing new ways to look at gender and to understand it as a system. I want to show something really quick.
Okay. See you later.
So I got this.
If it's your apartment, it's working.
Yes. I got this in the mail yesterday. It's called Gender Futurity, Intersectional Autoethnography, and basically a book about imagining queer futures that my colleagues and I got to put together. And I am super excited about it. And I don't know, I could just like cry thinking about this, but it's a project by gender variant and cisgender scholars all coming together to think about gender in a very new way, individually, groups. Some of us like got together and used collage methods and sort of wrote very intimately in ways that are sort of new. Yeah, so I love that question because I think about it a lot, and I feel like with academia and with a lot of just like ways that people want to institute things, like things very much do become dogma, but we can all imagine like our own worlds and our own genders the way we want to. No one has to tell us how to live, you know?
That's right. That's why we're all on Zoom. We've all just become virtual reality.
Yeah, we're all in the double black mirror of the Zoomocracy. At the end of the day.
Okay. Wow. Yep. On that note, listen, Jaina, thank you so much for speaking and for answering questions. Some of you guys saw Dr. Stephanie Budge before. This is the time of the show we have to say goodbye. I know, Jay, you just got here. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. But I've been your host, Lorena, and this has been Queering a Path, brought to you by Taste of Science and AARC. Again, if you guys are interested in following any of the events, you can go to Taste of Science or AARC. And this video will be available on the Taste of Science website. What? You have to rewatch this comedy, these brains. If you have any questions, there are emails you can access. Just thank you everyone for joining us. And please, there are links in the Zoom that you can access. This is a weird time for everybody involved. And, you know, I know these shows ideally are live. I know that ideally we're seeing everyone in person, but I really appreciate everyone for being here, both on the panel, not on the panel. And just thank you. Thank you so much. And let's take care of each other. So have a wonderful night, everybody. I will see you. I'll come to your place next time. Jay Nyla, Stephanie Budge, AARC, Taste of Science. See you guys later.